Hello, welcome to Web of Stories. My name is Melinda. It's Tuesday. It's also the end of the day that I'm recording this. As you can tell, I'm a little... and I'm doing a tag. So let me tell you about this tag. This is, well, first of all, I'm going to introduce you to a new booktuber. Her name is Hillary, and she's at Book Bustle. I recently found her. I love her videos. She's always like doing something else in her videos in her beautiful and immaculate kitchen. You will never see me do those videos because my kitchen is neither beautiful nor immaculate. So far from immaculate. But anyway, she just has a very conversational tone and she has great things to say about books and she's just so friendly. And she's brand new and you guys need to go check her out. She is of course tagged. So when she went to do the booktube newbie tag, she kind of thought, well, I don't know what I can really offer with these questions. So she created her own tag to kind of replace the booktube newbie tag. It's not one that necessarily needs to be done by a booktube newbie, but she called it the reader profile tag. And I learned this is the first of her videos. That was the first of her videos that I saw. And I was like, I want to do this tag. Because first of all, I think everyone should go check out her channel. And second of all, it's a great tag to get to know people. So, oh man, my mess. I'm just a mess today. Now, disclaimer, this is the second time I filmed this because I didn't prepare myself the first time. So there was a lot of me kind of like staring at the camera blankly while I'm trying to think. I also looked better the first time I did it. So we're going to go for looking haggard, but more prepared for this. Okay, there we go. So she has 10 questions and I'm going to go through them. Okay, first of all, what for you makes a good book? So this really depends, like what kind of book. Why am I reading it? Sometimes I read books for different reasons. Sometimes I want to really light read. Sometimes I want to learn something. But I think that one is a competent writing style. Now, I don't need to have really complex language, all that. Although if that's done well, that's great too. But I need to feel like the author of the book is comfortable writing in language, if that makes sense. Sometimes I read a book and I just feel like the author just wasn't comfortable writing it. So I need to have a comfort there. Now for fiction, generally, I really like good characters. I am more forgiving with things like plot, but I really want good characters. They don't have to be likable characters, but I want them to be good and interesting characters. Good as in well-developed. So really those are kind of the two things, like a good, competent writing style and interesting characters for fiction. So the next question is, what are you currently reading? And of course my books are over there. So I'm doing this video the same day I did my weekly update. So I'm filming this on March 15th. I am currently reading The War I Finally Won by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley and The Likeness by Tana French, as well as all of my other long-term reads, which at this point are 3 short story collections and 3 short story collections and Les Mis. Les Mis is what I've been doing along. And then I'm also going to be adding Henry IV Part 1 because I finally got the audiobook for that one so I can do my immersive read. So there you go. I've already talked about those in length on that video. Okay, what's the question? What is the last book you didn't finish and why? So I actually had to go back to 2023 and look at my spreadsheet to figure out what it was. And it was a book called Blood Sisters by Vanessa Lillie. So Vanessa Lillie is an Indigenous author, and this is a procedural mystery with a kind of supernatural element set in, Indigenous culture. Basically, my issue with this book is I have read another book that does this better. I kept being reminded of Shudder by Ramona Emerson, and I just thought that was a better book. I mean, that wasn't a perfect book by any stretch of the imagination. For me, it was enjoyable, but it was just such a better book than this. And so I just felt like I was doing a disservice to the book in my own mind by continue reading it because it was just paling in comparison. So that's what I would say would be Blood Sisters by Vanessa Lillie. One of my kind of unspoken things for 2024 was to be more okay with DNFing. And I mean hard DNFs, not right now is where I just like, this isn't the time to read this, I'll read it later, but like a hard DNF. I've yet to do that this year, but the only 2 times, I think there's only been 2 times that I have been tempted to DNF, and both of them, there were special reasons why I had to continue reading. So I couldn't DNF. Okay, that was question 3. Question 4. What obscure book do you wish other people would read? This should be no surprise to anybody at all if you've ever seen my channel, but it is Mink River by Brian Doyle. This is my very favorite book, my very favorite modern book. And admittedly, it is my favorite for very personal reasons. It's set in a place I love. You know, it's set on the Oregon coast, which is one of my favorite places, and it just spoke to me in so many ways. But even if you don't have those connections, I think it's just such a wonderful book. And Brian Doyle was such a fantastic writer. And I really think he deserves more attention, deserves more attention. He has unfortunately passed, but his books live on, and I think they deserve more attention. So Mink River by Brian Doyle. It's a story of a town, the Oregon coast. He doesn't give a time in when this takes place, but just from the context, it sounds like it takes place in the late 70s or early 80s, mostly because of the absence of certain technologies, but also this town seems to be at that time when the timber industry was declining in the area, but the tourist industry on the Oregon coast was still limited to a couple larger towns on the coast. So the little towns didn't have any kind of tourist industry, which is not the case now. It's all touristy. But so I kind of feel like that's when it was set. But I love that book. Mink River by Brian Doyle. Okay, what's the longest book you've ever read? I'm not sure, but it is either The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas, which I read a couple years ago and enjoyed, or Les Misérables by Victor Hugo, which I read in high school and am currently rereading. I don't know the exact page counts of either of those books, but they're both freaking long. And I'm doing I did a slow and steady read of The Count of Monte Cristo, and it probably took me like 7 months to read, which was fine, perfectly fine. And Les Misérables, if you aren't aware of this, Les Misérables has 365 chapters. So you can read a chapter a day for a year. Of course, I chose to do this on a leap year, so it doesn't quite work out right, but I am sticking to the 1 chapter a day with Les Misérables. So I'm reading it all through this year. But I love it so much. I love it so much. Mink River's my favorite modern book of all time. My favorite classic of all time is Les Misérables. So I just love this book. But yeah, one of those two, I'm not sure which one's longer. I think it might be Les Mis, but I'm not sure. Okay, so here we get to the questions where it did not look good on the first video. So I actually took time to actually write down some answers to them ahead of time. So the first one is, if you could have a dinner party with 5 fictional characters, who would they be? And I'm cheating on this a little bit. So I am thinking of, there's a couple cases where it's just one character, but sometimes it's a group of characters. So the first one would be all the people in Three Pines. All of them. I just want to go to Three Pines and have dinner with all of them. They have fantastic dinner parties. I want to be part of it. I hope I don't get murdered, but I want to go to Three Pines. I just want to be in Three Pines. It's just like, I just want to be in that world. So yes, that. Secondly would be the Count of Monte Cristo, because that guy was fascinating and I'm pretty sure he's kind of sexy. So Count of Monte Cristo. And then third would be Ruth Galloway, because she is just an intelligent and fascinating woman and she likes food. So you would just be able to eat and enjoy food with her and pick her brains about bones. That's the Ruth Galloway series by Ellie Griffiths. Fourth would be the Owens family, any iteration of the Owens family. So that's the family and Alice Hoffman's practical magic books. They're just wacky and fun, and I would get chocolate cake out of the deal. And finally, Anne Shirley. I'd be careful about what I drink with Anne Shirley, because she's been known to get people drunk, but she's just, I love her outlook on life. Yeah. I was very much like her as a child, probably still am a little bit. Although my oldest friend, we grew up next to each other and she lived right next door. She had red hair and I was really jealous because she had red hair like Anne Shirley and I didn't. But there you go. Those would be the 5. Okay. The next one is 5 books you'd want if you were stranded on a deserted island. Les Misérables. I'm rereading it right now, as I said, and I kind of feel like on January 1st of 2025, I just want to start over and reread it again because I just love it so much. So wonderful. I think I might just be continually reading Les Miserables over and over and over again. 2, Three Musketeers, because I did really enjoy The Count of Monte Cristo, and I don't know if I'd want to reread it, but I'd want something entertaining and action-packed to kind of occupy my time if I were on a deserted island, and I think that might be the book. 3 would be a really big Dickens novel. So I've read 3 Dickens novels. I've read A Christmas Carol, Hard Times, and Great Expectations, and none of those are especially long. So I'm thinking like Oliver Twist or Bleak House or David Copperfield, one of those that I just should sink into and not have any distractions and just read. And 4 would be a cookbook about how to make tropical food so I would know what to eat. And number 5, I don't know if this book exists, but it should exist, if for no other reason, so that people can answer it in this question. A book called How to Survive on and Escape from a Deserted Island. Someone's got to write that book just so people can like offer it up when they're asked this question. Okay, one book you could not put down. There have been a lot of books that I have not been able to put down. I do like to read mysteries. I do like sometimes to read mystery thrillers or something with a little more of a thriller element. And once those get going, I can't put them down. So I'm going to say the most recent one that I remember not being able to put down was A Symphony of Secrets by Brendan Slocumb. And it's his follow-up to The Violent Conspiracy, which I also really enjoyed The Violent Conspiracy. But I felt there were definitely areas in that book where he could improve. And I felt that he did improve on those with A Symphony of Secrets. And I just thought generally it was a better book. And there came a point where I was not putting that book down. So I buddy read that with Maria Andrea from Books and Bocadillos. And she was telling me she was listening to it on audio and she was going to the grocery store. And she just like drove past the grocery store because she couldn't stop listening. So I'm going to say Symphony of Secrets, mostly because that's the most recent one I can remember. Okay. 5 books or authors you will never read. Okay, so I'm going to cheat a little bit on the first one because I have read this author, but I wish I hadn't. Back when I was a teenager, young adult, I read The Mists of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley and all the books she wrote following that. And it wasn't until after I'd read that I learned about her. And, how to deal with problematic authors is an issue that I think we kind of struggle with, but she's the one that's pretty clear I don't want to have anything to do with. And I kind of felt really dirty just remembering that I had read her books. So I wish I could go back and not read her books. So I'm going to put her number 1. Number 2 and number 3 for the exact same reason. There would be Game of Thrones, the Game of Thrones series, and the Kingkiller Chronicles. Okay, 2 reasons actually. 1, they're just not my kind of book, the high fantasy and everything. Secondly, I don't think those series are ever going to end. And I am not starting a series that doesn't end. I'm sorry. I have no confidence in either George R.R. Martin or Patrick Rothfuss to finish their series. So I don't want to start them, if I even would, because they aren't my kind of books. But, I heard the books are good. I just don't want to start a series that they're not going to finish. 4 is War and Peace. Now I've heard it's a great book. The reason I want to read it is my bookish best friend has been bugging me to read it for a long time, and it's just become a point of pride with me that I have not read it. I'm not going to give her the satisfaction. I'm sure it is a very good book, but I am not giving her the satisfaction of caving and reading War and Peace. And finally, and this is thanks to Nicole at Noteworthy Fiction, The Confessions of Nat Turner by William Styron. I'm going to link her video on that one. And once you watch that video, you probably won't want to read that book either. It's a great video. It's very entertaining to watch and she has great points, but just watch that video. Okay. Oh, last question. So if you were to write a book, what would it be about? Fun fact, I have written a book. It's never been published and it never will be. It will never see the light of day. I wrote it one year during NaNoWriMo, and it was an experience and I'm done with it. And there you go. I have done writing in the past and I don't know, I might pick it up again in the future. I think if I were to write something, it would probably be like historical fiction on an event or time or a person that I am very interested in so that I could really get into the research because I am a history lover. My degree is in history. So I do think if I were to write a book, it would be historical fiction. So Now, Hillary didn't tag anybody in this because this was sort of her answer to the booktube newbie tag, but I'm going to tag people because I think this is a great tag and it should get out there, and everyone should check out Hillary at Book Bustle. So I'm going to tag, I was going to tag 10 people, but then I realized there's one other person I want to tag, so we're going to tag 11 people. So first, I'm going to tag Sue Jackson because I always tag Sue Jackson. Then Caitlin at Bandy's Books, who I also frequently tag. Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading. Angelia at Read and Reread. Hannah at Savage Reads. I wrote this all down, so I have to kind of like, what did I write? Nicole at Noteworthy Fiction. The Mild Rumpus. He does great tags, and he always says he's so happy to be tagged. So guess what? You're now getting tagged all the time. Lori at Books, Ink, and Paper. Farah at Bookstalgic. Becca at Read Becca, and Mariandrea at Books and Bocadillos. So Mariandrea, I had you on one list, and then when I rewrote the list, you weren't on it. So it became 11 because of you, because it's so important that you do it. But if I didn't name you, and this sounds interesting, please do this tag, because I want to see it, and I want people to go see Hillary's channel, because I've really enjoyed the videos of hers that she's put out, and I think she's got something really special, and I liked this tag. I thought this was a great tag, so give it a try. Thank you very much. Like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you next time. Bye.